Hello everyone and welcome back to the pond. My name is Frank, aka Bullfrog TCG, and today we are taking another crack at Lee Sin. So we've already done Lee Sin on this channel, but this time I have a very spicy list for you guys, as you can probably tell from looking at the screen already. But before we get into the sauce, if you enjoy these videos and you want to see more from me, then please take the time to just like and subscribe and maybe even write a comment. It really helps to support the channel, and I will be forever grateful. But okay, let's get into Lee Sin. So we are of course playing the Lee Sin champion, or the legend. This time around we're playing the Lee Sin centered in the champion zone, so 6 energy, 6 might, accelerate, and other buffed friendly units at my battlefield have +2 might. This kind of gives you the same sense of security as you get when playing the Orange Master Yi champion in the champion zone. Just having an accelerated unit that you can play out whenever you need it is always nice, and it also has the added benefit of just making all of your buffs count for 3 instead of 1, which is also nice because it helps you. It can help you like breakpoint some attacks and stuff like that. But okay, let's get into the other units. So we're playing 3 Stalwart Poro. This is just a really solid 1-drop, especially going first, because then if you conquer first, then on defense it's going to get a bit bigger, so it's going to be a bit harder for your opponent to conquer back. Then we are playing 2 Sithria of Cloudfield. This is just a really good way to like get your buffs going, get buffs on the board. It has some really nice synergies with some of the cards we're playing in the deck, and it's basically just an essential one, like turn 1 play if you're playing decks that synergize around buffs in general. So we are playing 2 of that. We are also playing 2 Wizened Elder, 4 energy, 4 might. While I'm buffed, I have an additional +1 might. This is just a really nice payoff for buffing. The fact that it doesn't cost a power cost to play out means that it's like the essential card to play out on turn 2. Then if you have an extra rune, you can use that to buff it up, and then it becomes a 6, which is just really good. But the star of the show, and the reason for making today's video at all, is of course the Herald of Scales. So 4 energy, 3 might. Your dragons' energy costs are reduced by 2 to a minimum of 1. So this is kind of what our deck is built around. This is the card we want to keep alive. This is the card that, this is the reason why we built this deck in at all. So currently in Riftbound there doesn't exist that many dragons, so you can see in our deck we're only playing 3, and that is the total amount we can actually play in these colors. There are a few more red dragons, and then there is of course the Mind Splitter in purple. But the reason I'm running it in green is because I want the extra protection, because this is so important to keep alive, and the cards like Defy and the Zonage Hourglass are really good to just keeping this alive, because if you can't keep this alive, then it just becomes a very slow, not that good deck, unfortunately. But that is also one of the reasons why we run the Wizened Elder, is that if we can't find this, and this is also a really nice card to play on turn 2. But okay, let's look at the dragons. So we're playing 3 Dune Drake, 5 energy, 5 might. When I attack, give me +2 might if there's a ready enemy unit here. This is a really nice card against Master Yi, because it essentially just negates Master Yi's legend ability. Because he really likes holding battlefields, which means that there's usually going to be an active or a ready unit there for you to attack into. And then this just gets the boost. But even if it doesn't get the boost, and if you have the Herald of Scales out, this just becomes a 3 for 5, which is really nice. It's just a cheap, like, mid-sized body to get out early. So yeah, and we kind of have to run it because we are running a dragon deck, of course, and as you can see, our options are limited. We are, of course, also playing the White Flame Protector, 8 energy, 2 power, 8 might. When you play me, give a unit +8 might this turn. We all know why this is great. Just develops a big body, and then it also gives something a huge boost to swing in, so it almost has pseudo accelerate, because it sends a huge swing into your opponent while keeping itself safe. So you kind of have follow-up for the next turn. So this is just an amazing card. And then for the final Drake or Dragon, we are playing the Mountain Drake as a 3 of, 9 energy, 10 might. This is just a big vanilla card. But again, if you have the Herald of Scales, this becomes a 7 for 10, which is incredible. And just the fact that this is so big, like a lot of decks struggle to deal with bodies that are this big. This kind of, it's the same thing with cards like Dr. Mundo. Of course, Dr. Mundo grows a lot more, but just a lot of decks struggle to deal with bodies that are this big, especially if you're, like, unless you're in yellow, because yellow has access to cards like Hidden Blade. That kind of just negates, it doesn't really care about the might. But that's also why we play green in the combination with the dragons, because then we have access to cards like Defy and Zonage Hourglass, which is really nice at stopping those kinds of cards. But yeah, so for now, these are the only options we have. When we get more cards introduced or more dragons introduced, I could see some of these, like maybe the Doom Drake getting replaced because it is a bit conditional. But for now, I mean, this is the package that we're running. Okay, so let's look at the spells. We're playing 2 Defies. We are playing 3 on guard, 3 Discipline, a very standard lineup there. We all know what these do. Defy to keep our guys alive, especially this one, and also the big guys when you're playing against yellow. On guard and Discipline to just, give yourself an extra boost. Discipline also draws you a card, which is nice. And then another one of the reasons I wanted to build this deck is Wallop. So a 3 of 2 energy action. As you play this, you may spend a buff as an additional cost. If you do, ignore the spell's cost. And then it says ready a unit. So this is such a cool card for 2 reasons. One of them is that this doesn't have to, you don't have to spend a buff on the unit that you're using this on. So you don't have to like play something out and buff it and then use this and that. As long as you have a buff on the board, then you can just use that buff. So that's why the Cytherea is so nice, because Cytherea, like, you don't have to play anything else to get the buff on her. As long as you lay like your Mountain Drake out, for example, you get a buff on the Cytherea, and then you can play this for free. And then, I mean, this essentially makes all of your guys enter ready as long as you have a buff on the board, which is really, really nice. And it also has the added benefit of you can also use this to ready your opponent's unit if you want to. If you're like 1 or 2 might off actually beating over something, you can ready your opponent's unit and then swing in with a Doom Drake to get the +2 might. Doesn't really come up that often, but it is a nice synergy to kind of keep in mind if you want to play this deck. And in this slot, this is very similar to Confront, which says the next unit to play this turn enters ready, and then it also draws you a card. And I think it really is a preference thing. What I really like about the Wallop is that this can also be used on units that are already on the board. So you can, for example, you can hold a battlefield and then move it back to the base, and then use Wallop to ready it, and then swing it to the other one. So this kind of, in that way, kind of works like pseudo ganking, which is really nice. But I think also just the fact that you can play this for free. So you can play out a Mountain Drake on curve, and as long as you have a Cytherea on the board or another buff on the board already, then you can just make this accelerate like out of the gate, which is just incredible. But I mean, the added draw from Confront is also nice, but I think this is just a better card in this deck. Okay, we're also playing 2 Meditation and 2 Finder Center. These are both draw spells. The Finder Center, of course, is also a ramp spell, but we don't really... The ramp isn't that important in this deck, because as you can see, all of our units, except the White Flame Protector, I mean, none of them have power costs, and that includes the Lee Sin unless we accelerate it. So this is a really energy efficient deck. We never really go off curve unless we're forced to use like a Defy or a Charm or something like that. But I do still like running it as a 2-of, because it also has the added benefit of if your opponent is a bit farther ahead, then you can just play this for 1. And then in that case, it's incredible. And then, of course, Meditation is just a 2 energy draw 1 or 2. And since we're playing the Herald of Scales, we don't really want to tackle this that often, because it is kind of the key to our like deck functioning. So this usually just stays back in the base, which means we're always going to have a unit ready for us to just rest with the Meditation to get the double draw, which is nice. And then we also play the 1 Charm. I am playing the other Charms at the sideboard. The Charm is nice when it comes up. But usually we'd rather have a buff spell in hand, or like a Wallop to just like be extra aggressive. But if we need it, we do have the other Charms in the sideboard. And then we also play some gears. We play the Triple Zanish Hourglass, again just a card to protect your guys, your small guys, your small guys and your big guys. And then we play 1 Mistfall. Now I did play this as a 2-of, because it is very nice when it's out. Because it says it's a 3 energy for a gear that says when you buff a friendly unit, you may pay 1 body power and exhaust this to ready it. So this essentially, with the legend ability, this essentially also makes every unit enter ready, which is really nice. And even though these technically can stack, if you get 2 of them out on the board, you can use, I mean, you can get this effect twice. The fact that our guys are so big, we don't really, we're never in a situation where we can actually use both of these in a turn, because usually we're playing something out and then buffing it with a Lee Sin and then spending that buff to, or kind of using that buff to get this ability off. And unless we have something like a Cytherea or like just buffs on the board already, then we're never really going to get this off more than once. And I mean, the big kind of drawback of playing these kinds of gears is that you have to take a turn off to play it out. But after you play this out, then your hand is just pure fire, because everything enters ready, which is really nice. We are playing the Windswept Hillock, just a really nice battlefield to have with big bodies, because you can you don't have to go through the base to attack the other one. You can just kind of keep bouncing back and forth. And then we are of course playing the Monastery of Arana. When you conquer here, you may spend a buff to draw one. I mean, this is a buff deck. This is just a card you have to play in this deck if you're gonna play it. It synergizes incredibly well with the Cythria. But yeah, this card is just really good. It synergizes with all their buffs. It's an extra way to draw cards to kind of keep your hand healthy. Yeah, just a really good card. And then we're also playing the Obelisk of Power just to get some extra energy going, because we can end up in situations where we actually don't find the Herald of Scales, and then we just have to play this out for the full price, and just getting to that energy a bit earlier is always nice. And then for the runes, we're just playing an even split of 6 and 6. And then for the sideboard, as I said, we're playing the extra charms, we're playing the extra Defy if we need more of those. We're also playing 2 Wind Walls to take care of big spells, and we're playing 3 Adaptotron to take care of big gears, i.e. Dazzling Aurora. But yeah, that is the deck list. That is Dragon Lee, Hidden Dragon. I don't know what to call this deck yet. I mean, I think I called my previous Lee Sin Crouching Tiger, so I guess this is Hidden Dragon. So that kind of makes sense. But okay, we're gonna jump into some games. Please enjoy, and I will see you at the end for the wrap-up. Okay, and game 1 with Dragon Lee Sin is gonna be against Viktor. We are on the Windswept Hillock, and our opponent is on the Triferian War Camp. Okay, so let's see if we can start this off with a win. We are gonna start off with the Hourglass. We do have the Herald of Scales on turn 2, which is kind of where we want to be. Our opponent starts with the Lecturing Yordle. We of course play the Herald. We're drawn to another one actually. Unfortunately, the Herald is not a dragon herself or himself, so we don't actually get to discount that. So playing out the second one is a bit awkward. But okay, our opponent is gonna conquer with the Lecturing Yordle. And also play out a Faithful Manufacturer, get a Recruit. Okay, that's fine. And it's gonna play out a Poro. Okay, so this is really nice, because now since we have the Herald, we can actually play out a White Flame Protector discounted. And since our opponent doesn't have any energy, we can just wipe this whole battlefield, which feels really good. And then since we have the Hourglass, we don't really care that much about our opponent attacking back into us, because that, I mean, if they actually can't take care of this Herald of Scales, then, you know, that's fine, because we already got our big body. Yeah, so this is just a really nice place to be right now. You don't really want to play out the White Flame this early. You kind of want to save it for when you can actually make a big impact. But like now, just getting an 8 might body on turn 1, no, on turn 3, while also just taking care of your opponent's field, feels so good. Okay, our opponent attacks with the Poro. We are going to trade with that, or he's going to trade with our Hourglass. He's going to get a Recruit from the victory just played out. I mean, one thing we do have to be aware of when playing against this deck is that he does run like Hidden Blades and stuff, so if we try to attack with this White Flame Protector, we could just get run over by a Hidden Blade. But sometimes that is just a risk you have to take. We're going to attack with the Herald first, because we'd rather him Hidden Blade that instead of the White Flame. Okay, gets us that. And yeah, we just force him to have it. If you have it, you have it, and if you don't, then that's nice for us. Okay, does Hidden Blade, we draw 2. Yep, and we just play out another Herald of Scales. Okay, so now our Mountain Drake cost 5, which is not bad. Okay, we do pass back. We could have used the buff from the Lee Sin there, but we rather just keep the Discipline open. He does play the Singularity, which is really bad for us, because that takes care of all of our discounting. He's gonna conquer both battlefields with the Recruits. Yeah, but you know, well, sometimes you just have to rebuild. And we kind of contemplate here, like, do we play out the White Flame Protector, or what do we do? Okay, we decide to play out the Lee Sin instead, because we don't really want to play out the White Flame without getting any value off of it. And again, we could have used the Lee Sin Legend ability, but we decided we'd rather keep the On Guard to just get 1 extra might in case that comes in handy. And just having that comes very in handy, because he does play the Falling Comet, spending his whole turn to not kill our Lee Sin. He does have the opportunity here to just crash his Viktor into that if he wants to. Okay, makes another Recruit. That's fine. Okay, so we no Hidden Blades coming this turn. That's very good for us. We draw into an Hourglass, which is going to be very good to just get some extra protection going. We're going to gank over with the Lee Sin since we are on the Windswept Hillock. Get another point. Go to 5. And we do have the triple Finder Centers here, but we'd rather just save those until the next turn, because then if he conquers the Windswept Hillock now, then we can just play all of those out for 1 energy each. So we're not on a rush to kind of get those draws going. Okay, it does play Color Weak. We fortunately have the Hourglass, so we're just going to be able to save that. Yeah, so he does conquer. Okay, that's actually nice for us because that means that we can play our Finder Centers for cheap. Okay, it plays another color weak. Fortunately, we don't have to let the Mountain Drake go. Okay, we're going to a Poro. We'd really like a Defy here. So that is why we are going to play a Finder Center. Draw one, channel one. Not a Defy, that's another Poro. Not really what we need. Do it again. That's not a Poro either. Oh, that's not a Defy either. It's a Meditation, which could be used to find a Defy as well. We're just going to play the third Finder Center, another Meditation. Okay, so not really what we want, but we do decide to just attack because this way we're on 6 points, so that we can kind of play to win next turn. And then we do decide to buff up the Stalwart Poro. I mean, that buff doesn't really accomplish much here because if he has something like a Singularity, then that buff doesn't really do anything. But we do have the Discipline in case he decides to go hard into the Mountain Drake. We do have some extra. We do get some extra boost from that. Yeah, no, now we're really like setting up to win next turn, and then if we draw into like a Wallop, for example, then we can just attack with a Wildfire Protector as well. Okay, so we placed a Blastcone Fae, gives a -2, and then he does Singularity on the Poro and the Mountain Drake. Yeah, the Poro dies, the Mountain Drake does not. That's fine, he crashes Viktor into it. Yep, that's fine. We're gonna Discipline. On the Poro, draw one, that is a Mountain Drake. Yeah, we're just gonna conquer, and then we are just gonna play out the Mountain Drake, give it a buff, and then set up to win next turn. And again, like if we're one wallop of just winning. Okay, and he just gives us GG. Okay, yeah. You really saw the power of the Herald of Scales, because just being able to play White Flame Protector on turn 3 and being able to swing like with, I think we swung for 11 into his battlefield and just kind of destroyed everything he had except one thing he had in the back. And then also having an 8-might body to follow up with on the next turn is just so powerful. And even though he did Singularity both of our double Herald, which kind of sucked, we were actually able to keep up because we just kept developing big bodies. And that's what's so nice about this deck, is the fact that it's so energy efficient. Like we're on 12 runes now, and just being able to like develop these big bodies over and over, like at some point our opponent is going to run out of removal. And you also saw just the power of having the Hourglass there, that Hourglass is just tanking removal. But that is also why those cards are so important to have in the deck, because if we don't have those kind of extra layers of protection, it's going to be way easier to just like kind of pick apart our whole game plan. But yeah, worked out this time. And game 2 is going to be against the big bad wolf herself, the Kaiser. We are on the Obelisk of Power, and our opponent is on the Targon's Peak, which is a battlefield that we could also get some nice use out of. So let's see if we can keep the wins going here. Okay, we do have quite an awkward hand. We don't have any 1-drops or 2-drops or like turn 1 plays. We do have a turn 2 play in the Doomdrake because we are on the Obelisk. So we are going to be able to play that out. Okay, our opponent plays out Lecturing Yordle. Okay, and he passes us. We draw into a Mountain Drake, which is not really what we want here. We play out the Doomdrake and just pass to him. Now we're just really praying that he doesn't have a Falling Star, because that is going to be able to just wipe that out. And that is going to set us back a lot. I mean, we can potentially play the Lee Sin next turn if like all else fails, but we'd rather not have to resort to that. Okay, he's gonna go attacking with a Yordle. We can very easily just swing over that on the next turn. Okay, he's gonna play out the Ravenbloom Student, and a Poro, and a Sentry. Okay, passes to us. He does get 2 energy back, so which means he could have a Smokescreen here. But if he does that, then we also have the On Guard to just negate that. Or negate enough of that, I guess. Okay, he's gonna use Retreat to bounce that back. Okay, that's fine. Okay, he's gonna use the Stupefy as well, I guess, just to cycle it. That's fine. We actually don't have anything nice we can play here. But we are just gonna play out the Lee Sin. Again, just hoping he doesn't have a Falling Star. But if he does have a Falling Star, since we conquer the Targon's Peak here, we are going to be able to use Discipline to save it. And that's like, again, like that is why I just love Discipline, because it's such a good counter to Falling Star when you have like these like mid-sized bodies. Okay, he's going to go conquering with the Watchful Sentry. And then he's going to play out... Okay, the Darius. Yep, does he have something else to go along with that? He does have the Stupefy. So the dragon is now a 5 and the Darius is a 7. And the Ravenbloom also grows. Okay, so he decides to retreat the Ravenbloom student. Okay, that's very interesting. I don't really know why you attack with that there. But okay, that's fine. That gives us an opportunity. Okay, we're gonna try to use the On Guard to be able to trade with the Darius. If he does have a smokescreen here, we do get kind of blown out, which kind of sucks, but I mean, we can just... If we did get blown out, which we didn't, fortunately, we could have just attacked into that with the Lee Sin on the following turn. Okay, it's gonna play out the Yordle again. Draw, get an extra draw, and we pass back to us. Okay, we draw an On Guard. We get all the On Guards here. Okay, we're gonna attack with the Lee Sin into the Targon's Peak, because that allows us to play out the Mountain Drake while also having On Guard ready, which is really nice for us. We could have also used the wall up to just ready the Mountain Drake, but I think having the protection instead, like here, where he has the Falling Star, is just better. Yep, that is going to grow to an 8 with 6 damage marked on it. And this attack is very risky for this exact reason. Like, if I have a buff spell here, since he attacked with 1 unit, if he doesn't have any other interactions here, then this combat is going to resolve by me killing the Poro, and then all that damage is going to get healed up on my Lee Sin. So this is a really, really risky attack to go for. I mean, I had already used 2 of my On Guard, so the chance that I had the 3rd one in hand was, of course, very low. But just like that is something you have to consider as well when you damage units. If you're gonna go for the attack, you usually want to attack a bit over what you ideally need to, just in case they do have some combat tricks up their sleeve, which I did now. So yeah, they're just forced to play out on the base, play out a Yordle, and play out the Kai'Sa, and then just pass the turn. We are, of course, going to attack with a Mountain Drake. We join to an Hourglass, which is really nice. Yep, he just gives us that. Can't really do anything about that. We're going to move the Lee Sin back. We're going to play out the Hourglass, give the Lee Sin a buff, and then... I mean, this is kind of an awkward spot. We pass the turn with 9 energy up, which never feels good, but we don't really want to play out the Mountain Drake here. There's no reason to. Okay, it's going to attack with the Kai'Sa. That is fine by us. We are feeling very safe here with the Zonage Hourglass. Like, if he tries to remove one of our units, we can just essentially stop that. Yeah, Zonage Hourglass against Kai'Sa is so good because it makes it so awkward for them to remove our stuff, especially cards like the Mountain Drake. Like, Kai'Sa really struggles removing stuff that's that big. Okay, he plays out the Watcher. And again, if he doesn't have a spell to go along with that, then the Mountain Drake is going to be able to just trade into that. Does have Hextech? Okay, that doesn't do anything. There's no reason to play that out there. Yeah, I guess this is a newer player, which is fine. We're all learning here, but like in that case, there wasn't really any reason to play the Hextech Ray. At least not until he saw me do something. Okay, yeah, we did get a trade into the Thousand-Tailed Watcher, which was really nice for us because we didn't even lose the Mountain Drake. We just lost the Hourglass. And then he plays out a Hopeful. And then restands to and passes back to us. Okay, we draw the Poro. Not really incredible. Not what we want to see here. We'd rather see some form of protection. Yeah, but we are going to attack with the Mountain Drake into the Kai'Sa. Yeah, we're just going to buff it up just because, really. There's not really anything we're playing around at this point. Yeah, he's going to give us that. Can't do anything about that. We're going to attack with the Lee Sin as well. Probably going to give us that as well. He could have a smoke screen, but unless he has something else to back that up, then that's not going to be enough because the Lee Sin has a buff. Okay, we're just going to play out the Poro and then pass the turn. Like, now we're really set up for winning next turn because even if he gets to remove both of our guys at the battlefields, which he probably can't, then we can just play the White Flame Protector into a Wallop on the next turn. Okay, he's going to play the smoke screen on the Lee Sin. Yep, so that is going to go down to a 3. He's going to attack with both the Hopeful and a Yordle here. Okay, that's smart. Just playing around a buff spell. Okay, we do take the Yordle with us, but if he doesn't do anything more than that, then that is not going to be enough. Okay, 7 versus 11. Does he have another smoke screen? He does. Okay, so that's 7-7. I mean, this is kind of a Hail Mary. He has to do that because if not, I'm just going to be able to hold and probably attack into the other battlefield on the next turn. Can't really afford just letting me have that Mountain Drake sitting there. Okay, it's gonna pass to us. We draw the Mountain Drake, but we don't really care about that. Now we just want to play the White Flame Protector, make the Poro a 10, 11 with the Lee Sin, swing in. Yep, kill that, and then we can just use the wall up for free by spending the buff off the Poro and then swing for 8 to conquer the final battlefield. Okay, so yeah, this Wallop works so well in Lee Sin because it basically means that whenever you have Wallop and a unit on the hand, as long as you have one more energy than what the unit costs, you can play out the unit and then buff it with Lee Sin and then play the Wallop for free. It's such a nice spot to be in. Like now we drew the Mountain Drake as well, so we could have done that with that as well. And but as long as you have a unit on the board and you have the White Flame in hand, you can just attack for 16 the turn you play that out, plus whatever might the unit of the targeted unit is as well. So yeah, the Wallop just feels so good on this deck. And game 3 is going to be against the boss himself, Sett. We are on the Windswept Hillock, and our opponent is on the Monastery of Harana, which is nice for us because that is a really good battlefield for us as well. And we do have the Sithria in our hand here, so let's see if we can get some use out of it. Okay, we are in the place where we are, of course, going to lead off with the Sithria. Our opponent is going to lead off with a Sabotage. Okay, that's a very interesting turn 1 play. Okay, he's going to get our Discipline. And then he's going to see the Secret Sauce. I mean, there's not really that much sauce in this hand to begin with. We are going to have to recycle the Discipline. And then it's going to play out a Glory Seeker. Okay, so I guess that is why the reason why I played the Sabotage, because he wanted to get the buff on that. But I mean, then early Sabotage like that is not really where we want to be. You kind of want to give your opponent some time to draw into their big stuff as well. Okay, we're gonna get the buff to the Sithria. We're just gonna spend it to draw one. Yep, he's gonna attack into it. That's fine. We did. I mean, the Sithria did its job already. And now he's gonna spend the buff with the Glory Seeker. And as long as he can't rebuff that, then he's not gonna be able to save it with the Sett if we attack into it, which we probably want to do. Okay, plays out his own Sithria and a Poro. Yeah, so now we're just gonna be able to very easily attack into that with the Elder. Kill that, draw one. Yeah, we are gonna go for the draw because his units are not that big, and if he wants to attack with both of those guys into it to kill the Wizened Elder, then I think that's fine. We are gonna be able to kill the Poro in that case, and then the Sithria we can just kill on the following turn. And I mean, we don't really care that much about the Sithria anyways because he's so small. Okay, he's gonna go hard into the other battlefield with the Poro and the Sithria. That's fine by us. That gives us the opportunity to just go ham with the White Flame on the next turn. He's gonna play the Sett in the base. I was really hoping that he would play that into the battlefield because then we could have just attacked with the White Flame. Okay, now that changes things because he probably has the... Okay, well that's nice. We did draw the Hourglass. So now we can kind of play into the Hidden Blade. We kind of want him to use that here. Yep, use the Hidden Blade. Targets our Dune Drake, of course. We are gonna get the double draw, and then we can just use the Wallop to restand the Dune Drake. Give it a buff as well, just why not? And then attack again. He's going to be able to use another Hidden Blade, but we drew into the Defy, which came very nicely in handy there. And then we get the point, then we can just move the Elder back, play out a Poro, and pass to him. He's going to play out a Kinku Monk. Okay, so he's going to give the Sett a buff, and because the Sett ability counts himself as well, the Sett is now a 7 versus our 6. Yeah, so he's going to kill the Mountain Drake. No, the Mountain Drake. He's going to kill the Dune Drake. And then pass back to us. We are going to buff up the Poro here. Attack into the Monastery. And draw one off the Poro there. We're going to play out the White Flame Protector. Buff up the Wizened Elder like heck. And then swing into the Sett. He's, I forgot, going to be able to save it, but that's fine. Now we're kind of set up to win on the next turn. Because we do have the Wallop in hand. Okay, he's gonna kill that, that's fine. He's gonna go there, he's gonna Sabotage. He's gonna take our Wallop, which is sad. That stops one of our plans of winning this. We draw into the Meditation. We are gonna go to 7 points. We're gonna use the Meditation. Yeah, we are just gonna attack into the battlefield with the White Flame. And then just play the Mountain Drake into the base. Yeah, we don't really want to get got by a grand stratagem here, which some Sett decks are running quite successfully. Okay, so the game actually ended there because our opponent apparently didn't have enough to take over the battlefield because he does have ganking and he's only 3 might off to actually just being able to clear a whole battlefield here. But as it turned out, he didn't have that. So yeah, that was another good game of the books. We actually didn't draw the Herald of the Scales this time. But like as you can see, like that is why we run the Wizened Elder. Just in case we don't draw that, we can play out the Wizened Elder instead. Just having like a beat stick like that on the board early, it just feels really nice. And also like just the fact that our opponent was on the Monastery of Harana meant that we could really get some payoffs for actually getting the buffs both on the Wizened Elder and the Cythria. And the fact that our deck is so energy efficient meant that we were just able to keep pressuring with the White Flame Protector and the Mountain Drake and just pressuring that way. And I think the White Flame Protector is such a good such a good card, like mid game as well, because it essentially just develops two threats, like one that's attacking right away and then the big body that's left for the next turn. It's just an incredible card. So yeah, another good game. Alright, and game 4 is going to be against Teemo. We are on the Monastery of Harana and our opponent is on the Zon Warrens. So let's see how this goes. We do have a turn 1 play in the Stalwart Poro, and we do have the Herald of Scales and the Mistfall here, so we can have everything we need. Now we just need the big dragons. Okay, we just had to lead off with the Poro and just giving him a buff with the Lee Sin. Our opponent led off with a Traveling Merchant, attacking into the Zon Warrens. That is fine, he's going to get the double discard draw here. Discarding a Flash and a Dr. Mundo. Wow, okay, so that means he probably has another one in his hand. Yeah, the Mundo is a card that is very difficult for us to beat. Especially if the game goes long enough. Okay, he's gonna hide a card with a Merchant. That is, I mean, we assume it's a Teemo because he just added the Teemo to his hand. Okay, he's gonna play his Decktech as well. Okay, we draw into the Zonish Hourglass. We are just gonna conquer the Monastery of Harana here. Or try to at least. Okay, he's actually gonna gust that. That's pretty annoying for us. But we can play out the Herald of Scales and give it a buff with the Lee Sin. Kind of setting ourselves up for the next turn if we draw a dragon. If we don't, then this is not that impressive. But okay, let's see what our opponent does here. He does get a point for holding with a Merchant. He's gonna play out the Tide Turner. Okay, hard playing the Tide Turner, doesn't feel that good. We do actually draw the Mountain Drake, which is very nice because we are gonna be able to play that. And then attack, and hopefully, I mean, he can't use the Gust here because that Herald is a 4. Okay, we get a point. We are going to draw off the buff. Then we are also going to hide the Hourglass. Okay, he's going to play out a Consult the Past. Okay. Hard casting that. Okay, we draw into the Discipline. We are going to use the Meditation on the Herald here. We are just going to stay back with that on the battlefield and then just keeping the Zonish Hourglass hidden as well. Okay, we draw a Dune Drake and a Poro. We're going to use the buff on the Mountain Drake to go into the Traveling Merchant, and unless he has something huge here, or a Fight or Flight, that is just going to be able to destroy the Merchant. And then he's revealing the Teemo for some reason. I'm not really sure why. But okay, that's fine. You can do that. But we are just going to use the Wallop on the Mountain Drake to just be able to swing back. And that is the strength of Wallop over the Confront. But okay, he has another Fight or Flight. Okay. So we are going to get pushed back here. We are just going to play out the Mountain Drake and... no, the Dune Drake I mean, and play out the Poro. And passing into him. Yeah, we're kind of setting ourselves up for the next turn. Now it is quite worrying because he is on 4 points and we're on 2 points and his trash is getting pretty big, and we know he has... I mean, we know he probably has Dr. Mundo in his hand because he discarded one of them. Or he discarded one, which he probably wouldn't do if he didn't have one. He's going to Stupefy our Herald to probably just cycle off the Stupefy. Okay, he's going to do that again, so the Herald is now at a 1. He's going to attack with the Tide Turner. We are just going to flip up the Hourglass and save the Herald. And then he hides another card there. And he hides one at the Zone of Wardens as well. Yeah, like, as always with the Teemo, you never know what they have. A lot of hidden cards. He's gonna play out the Ravenbloom Student there as well. Okay, I mean, we do have a lot of might on the board, so we are gonna be able to deal with at least some of this. Okay, we go with the Dune Drake first. The Dune Drake does get the +2 because the Merchant is ready. He's gonna play the Spectacle, and that is not enough because that is just 5, and the Dune Drake is a 7. So unless he has something else, I mean, it is gonna buff up the Ravenbloom Student. So of course you have to play it out, but it doesn't save that battlefield. Okay, that is 1. And then we can just cycle this Herald. We don't really need 2 of them. Not at this point at least. Yeah, we're gonna use the Finder Center. Since he is on 5 points, we can play that for 1. Which is always nice. We're kind of just gauging our options here before we commit to something, because if we swing the Mountain Drake into the battlefield and that is like a fight or flight, then, you know, it's gonna feel pretty bad. But at some point you just have to go for it and then hope that's not what it is. Okay, we attack here into Ravenbloom Student and a Tide Turner, and if it is anything other than a fight or flight, then we are probably going to be able to beat over it, because we do have a Discipline and an On Guard here, so that is +4 might if we need it. Okay, it's a Teemo. So in total that is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 energy to our 10. And yeah, apparently it doesn't have enough, so we just kill that whole battlefield, which is nice. Yeah, some pretty rough maths on our opponent's side here. Like, that is something you kind of have to plan for a lot. Like, if you're committing that hard into a battlefield, then you should really make sure that your opponent can't just beat over it without committing anything more to the board. Like, we had the Mountain Drake, he knew he was in the base while he committed to that battlefield, so I guess it just didn't count it out. But you know, that happens. Okay, we're gonna give the buff to the Dune Drake. We're at 4, so we are potentially 2 turns off winning here. He's gonna play out the Traveling Merchant. Okay, he plays the Dr. Mundo. Now the Dr. Mundo is a measly 20 here, which is kind of terrifying. And he has to ride the wind as well, so the Mundo is actually a 21 here. And yeah, that Discipline and the On Guard is not going to be enough to save that. So we're all going to have to give that up. But we're not out of the woods yet. He does decide to move back, which I actually don't think is a correct move, because that allows us to get 2 points this turn. And if we draw into a Charm here, we could potentially just move the Mundo out of the way to go for the game next turn. So yeah, I don't think it was correct for him to just move the Mundo back there. Yeah, we're just going to move up with the Poro there. Then we're going to play the Meditation, draw into another Herald and an Hourglass. Not the Charm that we were looking for. And we're going to play out the Hourglass again. So now we're just kind of hoping that he can't. So now we're just kind of building up our battlefield as big as we can. Because we know if we're going to have any hope of defeating this Mundo, then we have to attack with quite a lot. Okay, so that is done to an 18 now. Okay, it does go to 7. So we can't let him take the other battlefield here. So if he has something like a Watcher, for example, okay, he has the Convergent Mutation, but fortunately we have the Defy for that. So we can actually stop the mutation, so that's good. He has a Stupefy, okay, gives that a minus. But we do have the Discipline and the On Guard, so we can't just beat over that with a Merchant. And he draws into the Ride the Wind. Yeah, that is gonna do it. that Poro is not gonna be able to stand up to that monster. So yeah, yeah, like the Dr. Mundo, like that is one of the, I guess, problems with these. I think colors in general, I don't really think Order and Com has like a clean way to just take care of a Dr. Mundo, like a unit that is that big. The only way that I can think of is, of course, the Charm. But we didn't draw that there, unfortunately. If we did, we could have just moved it out of the way. But I mean, in that case, he got the double Ride the Wind. And the fact that he was able to stop our early pressure, he used the Gust on our Poro to kind of get that out of the way. So we were kind of a bit behind. So I think this game we're just like 1 turn too slow. Because if we got our like game going a bit earlier, then we could have probably be able to win here. But yeah, I mean, the Conversion Mutation into a Stupefied draw into the Ride the Wind feels really bad. And our final game is going to be against the Master himself, Master Yi. We are on the Windswept Hillock and our opponent is on the Grove of the Godwillows. So let's see if we can end this off with a win. We don't have a turn 1 play, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, well, we can play out the Hourglass. It would have been nice to start off with a unit here, because we do want to be the aggressor versus Master Yi. We do have the Herald of Scales here, so we could potentially play that on turn 2. Okay, it's just going to play a Finder Center. Yep. I mean, looking back at it, that is probably something that I wanted to defy there. I probably should have just used the Defy there. Okay, we're just going to play out the Wizened Elder and pass to him, still keeping the Defy up. He's going to play out the Master Yi. Go Conquering. Yep, and we are going to give the Wizened Elder a buff. And since he is tapped out here, we kind of have to commit quite a lot here to take care of that Master Yi. But since we have the Hourglass, we can just crash this Wizened Elder into the Master Yi and then just not get the point and then just conquer on the next turn. Because then we could also play out the Herald as well. If we used the On Guard, then we couldn't have played out the Herald this turn. Okay, he's gonna play out the Clockwork Keeper to draw one. He's also gonna play out the Pit Rookie. to get a buff. So a lot of small units, which means that he's probably not playing Aurora. I mean, if he does, then that is some sketchy deck building, I think. But okay, we're gonna draw into a Poro. Not really what we want here. Like now, since we have the Herald, we just want our big drakes, or big dragons. We do have 2 Dune Drakes, but those really doesn't really do that much here. But yeah, we're gonna play them out. And I mean, that is 12 energy worth of units for, yeah, 8 energy, which is not bad. And we still have the Defy up. Okay, he's gonna Discipline the Clockwork Keeper. So that is now a 6. No, I'm sorry, that is now a 5. And then he's gonna On Guard. Okay, well, we do actually have our own On Guard here, so we are gonna play the spell game. But Master Yi unfortunately does have another On Guard, so he's gonna get above us. That is unfortunate. We are gonna be able to attack into that on the next turn, but if it always... It's never good to just lose your units like that. Okay, he's gonna conquer the Windswept Hillock with the Petroki as well and just pass to us. Passing with 6 energy up is never feels good for us. We draw into another Dune Drake. Yeah, again, not what we want here. We want our big dragons here. We want our Mountain Drakes and our White Flame Protectors. That is kind of what we're hoping to get. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. We do attack with the Poro and the Dune Drake here. Yep, he's gonna kill the Poro. We're gonna attack into the Petroki as well. And then, yeah, I mean, we can't really do much else other than just play out the Lee Sin, play out a Dune Drake, and pass to him. Yeah, we debated going with the Dune Drake into the battlefield there, just kind of power that up, and I think that was... I mean, I think that was probably the correct play, because then we could also play it around like a Dead Bloom Predator, for example, more effectively. Okay, he's going to use Charm on that, just move that back into the base. We are going to be able to use the Defy, though. And looking back at it, I think that Defy was probably a bit greedy, because I think we'd rather save that Defy for something that could actually like kill one of our units. He's going to be at the Kiana. And a First Mate. And another First Mate. Okay. He's going to attack with both the Kiana and the First Mate here. I am, of course, going to kill the Kiana. So he does get the draw. But he's still ahead of me. And we draw into the Finder Center. We get a point for holding. And then, I mean, yeah, we give a buff to the Mountain Drake. And then we go over to the First Mate to take care of that. Okay, so that is 5 points. We're Finder Centering into a Finder Center into a Mountain Drake. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to get that off the first Finder Center, because then we could have played it out as well. But we didn't, unfortunately. But, well, we just hope that we can play it out next turn. Okay, we pass to him. We decide to go double Dune Drake here into the Grove. So now we are kind of playing around a Dead Bloom more effectively. But we are not playing around the White Flame Protector, because that is going to be 11 to 11, which is kind of ironic. Because we kind of debated putting the Elise in there as well. And apparently that is what we should have done. Okay, we draw the Discipline. I mean, we can go Conquering here. We can get 2 points here. We can go to 6, and then we can play out the Mountain Drake. So here I'm thinking like, okay, I could go for 7 points. By attacking with the Herald of the Scales as well. But since I decided not to do that, I think it was correct for me instead to just attack with the Herald of Scales now, because like whatever I attack with is just going to get killed by the White Flame Protector anyways. So I think it was correct for me to just attack with the Herald of Scales instead, and then just keep the Lee Sin back. So that on the next turn where I'm actually trying to go for a game, which I probably am, then I have a bit more might to work with. Because now I have 13, whereas I could have had 17, which could have made a huge difference. Yeah, it does attack with the White Flame Protector. We do have the Discipline here. And our opponent has 4 cards in hand. He could have something to stop the Discipline. Yeah, we're thinking really hard, because we could try to just take this White Flame Protector out now. Or we could save the Discipline for the next turn. But you know what, we decided to just go for it now. And unfortunately he does have the Defy, which kind of sucks, so the Master Yi is just gonna die here. Yeah, so like here, like one of the things that got us, I think, is just the fact that we didn't commit enough into the Grove of the Godwillows. He's gonna charm the Herald as well. He could have charmed the Mountain Drake, but I guess he didn't, because he didn't want his White Flame Protector to die. Okay, we're gonna play out our own Hourglass and just gonna attack into the ganking battlefield with that. And then just pass to him, and unless he gets like something here, then we are just gonna win. Okay, he gets another draw off the Grove. That should have been us. He's gonna get the Charm. Yeah, that is annoying. That is very annoying, because now unless we draw a Charm here, we can't clear both of his battlefields. Then he's gonna play out Feyfolk. Okay. Yep, it's gonna go to 7 there. And we draw Meditation. Well, we just have to go for it. Mistfall. And hilariously, if the Mountain Drake wasn't buffed here, we actually would have won. Because oh, this is so annoying. Because we could have attacked with the Mountain Drake into the Tasty Feyfolk, taking care of that. And then we could have played out the Mistfall, buffed the Mountain Drake with the Lee Sin, used the Mistfall to ready it, and then since we were at the Windswept Hillock, we could have ganked over to the White Flame Protector. And since that's an 8, goes to 10 with a Master Yi, but since we're on 11, thanks to the buff, we would actually have won. So this was such an annoying spot to be in, because we were so close. And here we're kind of like, okay, well, since we buffed that, now we actually can't survive. Which was hilarious, which is not a scenario that's gonna come up very often, but I guess it could come up, like if you're kind of thinking ahead and kind of playing around, okay, like, or playing into the chance of drawing into the Mistfall, then that could actually be the difference between winning or losing, which was pretty annoying, but you know, that's how it is sometimes. And that is the Dragon Lee Sin deck for Origins. So I think this deck is one that I'm going to revisit once we get more dragon support. But for now, I think this deck is actually pretty sweet. Just the power of the Herald of the Scales, like being able to curve into a White Flame Protector on turn 3, is pretty insane. And I think, like now, I don't think people are respecting this card as much as they probably should. I mean, there is like some argument to be made that kind of like there are not enough dragons to like make this a threat consistently. But I guess you could, as you can see, like we can play this on turn 3, you can play this on turn 3 if we're going second. Like this just enables so many good plays, like being able to play these big bodies while also having energy left over to do other stuff. It's just so valuable. And also like the Wallop, just like as I said in the Decktech, like this is kind of a preference choice, but like playing this or Confront. But I really like this, like the fact that you can interact with, like use this on units that are already on the board. Just makes this so much better, because then you can attack and then you can use this and then just gank over if you're on the Windswept Hillock, or you could hold and then just move back to the base and ready and then attack again. And you know, there are so many good plays you can make with this card, and the fact that you can play it for free means that in Lee Sin specifically, if you have just leftover energy, you can just, like any unit you play out just enters ready with this one, which is so nice. And you also saw like in the end, like in the final game, and that is also one takeaway I have, like all of the games we played today were so close, like the game town, they came down to like the wire, like the Dr. Mundo, they kind of stupefied into the Ride the Wind, which was just so annoying. And then also the last game, you saw we drew the Mistfall, but then since our Mountain Drake was already buffed, we couldn't actually get this ability off, which is pretty annoying. But yeah, like just having Mistfall out on the board just makes us feel so powerful, because all of our units basically have Accelerate now. Because we played in tandem with the Legend ability, and like Mistfall and the Wallop just kind of have, they kind of do the same thing, but Wallop is a bit more flexible, but then Mistfall is permanent. And like, as I said earlier, it would be nice to play a couple more of these just to see it more consistently, but you never really want to play the second one, because even though these abilities stack in a way, you can like use one on one and kind of get this ability off twice. We're never really in a situation where we actually play out 2 units that we want to spend the power to kind of accelerate every turn. So the second one is just going to be redundant, and since we're not really playing any ways of recycling or cycling cards, so unless our opponent is playing the Zon Warren's battlefield, then this is just going to get stuck in our hand if we draw the second one. But like other than that, like as I said, like this is not the most supported color as far as dragons go. Like if you want to play as many dragons as you can, then you should play Volibear, because then you get like I think 3 or 4 dragons. But I think just playing this deck with the added protection of the Defy and the Discipline on Guard, and of course the Honor's Hourglass, I think is just this is very much like the comfort choice when it comes to the dragon deck. It might not be as explosive, but I think it's way more consistent in the way that you're actually going to be able to keep this alive. And then you're way more consistently going to go for all these big guys, because you do have a lot of draw in the deck as well. You have like 3 Discipline, 2 Meditation, 2 Find Your Center, and then also the buffs in combination with the Monastery of Harana. Like, you do have a lot of card draw in here. So I think for now, I think this is probably the safe choice to go if we want to build dragons. But I am kind of like thinking of building a dragon deck with the Volibear as well, so stay tuned for that. But yes, that is going to be the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I really hope to see you on the next one. But until then, take care and bye-bye.